The Middle East sits on a knife's edge. Tensions between Israel and Iran have reached a fever pitch. At the heart of this standoff lies Iran's nuclear ambitions. Israel views a nuclear-armed Iran as an existential threat. It has repeatedly stated its willingness to take military action to prevent such a scenario. Iran, on the other hand, maintains its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes. It vows a swift and decisive response to any attack. This volatile mix has created a powder keg in the region. Adding fuel to the fire are Iran's ballistic missile program and its support for regional proxies. These proxies, including Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza, pose a direct threat to Israel's security. Israel considers them an extension of Iran's military might. Any conflict between Israel and Iran has the potential to ignite a regional conflagration. The stakes are incredibly high. The international community is watching nervously. Diplomatic efforts to defuse the situation have stalled. The possibility of miscalculation or an unforeseen incident triggering a conflict is a constant worry. The situation remains volatile and unpredictable as both sides engage in a dangerous game of brinkmanship. Israel faces a significant obstacle in its potential plans to strike Iran airspace. Gulf Arab states, wary of Iranian retaliation, have reportedly refused to allow Israel to use their airspace for such an attack. This denial presents a major logistical hurdle for the Israeli Air Force. It forces them to consider alternative routes that are significantly longer and more complex. The refusal of Gulf states highlights the delicate geopolitical balance in the region. These states, while traditionally aligned with the United States and wary of Iran's activities, are also hesitant to be seen as complicit in an Israeli attack. They fear Iranian retaliation, which could target their critical infrastructure and destabilize the region. Their refusal underscores the complexity of the situation and the potential for unintended consequences. This airspace dilemma has significant implications for any potential Israeli operation. Longer flight paths mean increased fuel consumption and the need for multiple mid-air refueling operations. This adds complexity to the mission, increasing the risk of operational mishaps and potential exposure to enemy defenses. The situation highlights the strategic challenges facing Israel and the limitations imposed by the regional geopolitical landscape. Iran has scored a diplomatic victory in its efforts to deter an Israeli attack. Through strategic diplomacy and engagement, Iran has secured assurances from its neighbors that they will not allow their airspace to be used for attacks against it. This success creates a protective shield around Iran, making it significantly more difficult for Israel to carry out a strike without risking a wider conflict. This development underscores the importance of regional alliances and diplomacy in the Middle East. It demonstrates that unilateral military action is fraught with risks and complexities. Iran, by garnering support from its neighbors, has effectively raised the stakes for any potential aggressor. It has also highlighted the potential consequences of such an attack for regional stability. Iran's diplomatic success will likely embolden its stance in the ongoing standoff with Israel. It reinforces Iran's narrative that it is a responsible actor in the region and is being unfairly targeted. This development could further complicate international efforts to revive the nuclear deal and ease tensions. Iran may feel less pressure to make concessions, believing it has successfully deterred a military strike. The Israeli Air Force, while highly capable, faces significant logistical challenges in contemplating a strike on Iran. The distances involved are vast, and the airspace restrictions imposed by Gulf states exacerbate these challenges. Long-range strikes would necessitate multiple mid-air refueling operations, a complex and risky maneuver, especially in a hostile airspace. The need for mid-air refueling also impacts the payload capacity of Israeli aircraft. Carrying additional fuel means reducing the number of weapon systems and ammunition that can be deployed during the mission. This limitation could necessitate multiple waves of attacks to achieve the desired objectives, increasing the risk of detection and retaliation. The logistical hurdles highlight the strategic considerations and potential limitations faced by Israel in any potential military operation against Iran. Extended flight times, a consequence of airspace restrictions, also increase the risk of early detection by Iranian air defenses. The longer Israeli aircraft are in the air, the higher the probability of being detected by radar systems, potentially giving Iran more time to prepare its defenses and scramble interceptors. This factor adds another layer of complexity to mission planning and execution, further emphasizing the challenges facing the Israeli Air Force. The refusal of Gulf states to allow Israeli overflights has forced military planners to consider alternative and riskier flight paths. These potential routes, each fraught with its own set of dangers, could involve flying over countries like Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq. These countries, with their own internal conflicts and complex geopolitical realities, present significant challenges for Israeli aircraft. Overflying Lebanon would expose Israeli jets to the risk of encountering Hezbollah's air defenses. Hezbollah, heavily armed and experienced in asymmetric warfare, poses a credible threat to Israeli aircraft. An engagement with Hezbollah could easily escalate into a wider conflict, drawing in other regional actors and destabilizing the region further. Similarly, transiting Syrian airspace would bring Israeli jets within range of Syrian and Russian air defense systems. Syria, embroiled in a civil war, hosts a significant Russian military presence. The risk of miscalculation or an unintended escalation in this volatile environment is extremely high. Any Israeli incursion into Syrian airspace could have far-reaching consequences for the region. Flying over Iraq presents its own set of challenges. While Iraq is generally considered to have weaker air defenses compared to Syria, the presence of various militia groups with access to anti-aircraft weaponry poses a threat. Moreover, any Israeli overflight of Iraq could be perceived as a violation of Iraqi sovereignty, potentially destabilizing the country and the wider region. Iran is not a passive actor in this unfolding drama. Anticipating the possibility of an Israeli attack, Iran has been actively preparing for retaliatory strikes. These preparations likely involve strengthening its air defenses, dispersing critical military assets, and readying its ballistic missile forces. Iran has repeatedly warned that any attack on its soil will be met with a swift and decisive response. Iran's retaliatory options extend beyond conventional military means. Iran and its proxies have a history of employing asymmetric tactics, including cyber attacks, terrorism, and naval operations in the Persian Gulf. Such actions could disrupt global energy markets, target critical infrastructure, and sow chaos and instability in the region, potentially drawing in other actors and escalating the conflict beyond its initial scope. The potential for retaliatory strikes from Iran highlights the high stakes involved in any military action against the country. It underscores the risk of triggering a wider regional conflagration with unpredictable consequences. The possibility of Iranian retaliation serves as a stark reminder of the need for diplomatic solutions and the importance of avoiding actions that could further destabilize an already volatile region. The escalating tensions between Israel and Iran have not gone unnoticed. The international community, deeply concerned about the potential for a catastrophic conflict, has been vocal in its calls for restraint. World leaders and international organizations have urged both sides to prioritize dialogue, de-escalate tensions, and avoid any actions that could lead to war. Diplomatic efforts are underway to find a peaceful resolution to this crisis. European powers, Russia and China have all called for a return to diplomacy and a revival of the Iran nuclear deal as a pathway to easing tensions. These efforts, however, face significant challenges, including deep mistrust between the parties involved and the complex geopolitical realities of the region. The international community's calls for restraint reflect the gravity of the situation and the shared understanding that a military conflict between Israel and Iran would have far-reaching and devastating consequences. The situation underscores the urgent need for a diplomatic solution and the importance of international cooperation in addressing the complex challenges posed by Iran's nuclear program and its regional activities. The current standoff between Israel and Iran hangs in the balance, a stark reminder of the volatile and unpredictable nature of their long-standing conflict. While the immediate threat of an Israeli strike might be delayed, the underlying tensions and the potential for miscalculation remain high. The future of this conflict remains shrouded in uncertainty, with the potential for both escalation and de-escalation. The possibility of a negotiated solution to the Iran nuclear issue, while desirable, appears increasingly distant. The current political climate, characterized by deep mistrust and a lack of communication, makes meaningful dialogue challenging. Meanwhile, the risk of unintended escalation remains a constant threat. Any miscalculation or unforeseen event could trigger a wider conflict with potentially catastrophic consequences. The international community faces the daunting task of navigating this complex and volatile landscape while seeking to prevent a disastrous war. Diplomatic efforts to revive the nuclear deal and engage Iran in dialogue remain crucial, but success is far from guaranteed. The future of the Iran-Israel conflict remains precarious, with the potential for both escalation and de-escalation hanging in the balance.